Thank you for watching our video. Please give us a big like, subscribe to our channel for new videos every day with amazing cars. Leave us your opinion in the comment section on the video. Thank you. The image of enhanced off-road capability, both real and imagined, has long been a part of the full-size pickup formula. That attribute continues with the new for 2019 Ram 1500, the redesigned lineup of which includes an update to the dirt-slingin Rebel trim level that was introduced for 2015. While we've already driven a good chunk of the revised Ram 1500 model range, some additional Rebel seat time in the Arizona desert reinforced that it, too, greatly benefits from the standard half-tonner S wholesale makeover. Highs. Beefy looks, greater refinement, real off-road chops, more configurations than before. Loss. Off-road tires struggle for grip on the street, some luxury options not available, still not a Raptor. Serving as the little brother to Ram's heavy-duty Power Wagon off-roader, the Rebel slots, price-wise, between the new 1500s upscale Laramie and cowboy-chic Longhorn trim levels. It's easy to spot, with the vented, power-domed hood and blackened fender flares and exterior trim joining an updated take on the Rebel's characteristic interlocking ram grille. It also has its own specific 18-inch aluminum wheels, up from the previous 17s, and is the only 1500 variant to ride on knobby, 33-inch diameter all-terrain tires now slightly larger at LT 275/70 R18 versus LT 285/70 R17. Ram says the new truck has switched to Goodyear Wrangler DuraTrac rubber from the previous Toyo A. Open cow entries was largely due to the desire for quieter on-road running. And indeed, the new treads are surprisingly hushed on the tarmac given their aggressive profile, producing just a faint thrum that we only really noticed at slower speeds. Brew 2.0. The big tires and a set of upgraded Bilstein man-mounted dampers, with external reservoirs for those at the rear axle, are what set the Rebel apart mechanically. The rest of its tough truck gear including a 1-inch suspension lift over stock, hill descent control, an electronically controlled locking rear differential, and skid plates for the front suspension, steering gear, transfer case, and fuel tank can be had with the new off-road package available on all other four-wheel drive Ram 1500 models for $795 plus $495 for the locking diff. Non-Rebel trucks so equipped also gain a few off-road graphics, slightly revised versions of the 1500s standard internal bypass dampers, and 18 or 20-inch wheels with all-terrain tires, depending on the trim level. Ram sought to enhance the second-gen Rebel's appeal by offering it in a greater number of configurations than before. Whereas the previous truck was crew cab only and rode on the 1500s optional air spring suspension, the new rig also can be had as a less capacious quad cab four-door with steel coil springs. Rear and four-wheel drive setups continue to be offered, although the all-wheel drive setup, made possible by a Borg-Warner on-demand transfer case, is omitted from the Rebel build sheet. Ram says most Rebel buyers are just fine with the conventional 2WD, 4WD high, and 4WD low modes. The Rebel trucks we sampled were all outfitted with four-wheel drive, air springs, and the optional 5.7-liter Hemi V8 producing 395 horsepower and 410 pounds-to-foot of torque. Available later this year also will be Fiat Chrysler SE to work 48-volt hybrid system, which comes standard on the base, 305 horsepower 3.6-liter Pentastar V6 and is optional on the Hemi. A smooth shifting 8-speed automatic controlled by a rotary dial on the dash is the only available transmission. Move them out. It's important to remember when driving the Rebel off-road that it is merely a fortified version of a standard light-duty pickup and not a fully integrated performance rig in the vein of Ford's F-150 Raptor. The Toyota Tundra TRD Pro plays in the Rebel S space, and General Motors will soon join the mix with the Trail Boss variant of the all-new 2019 Chevrolet Silverado. Tackle small jumps and undulating washboard-like terrain with too much aggression and the Ram's suspension will quickly kiss its bump stops. Yet driven within its limits, the Rebel displays impressive composure when blitzing sandy washes and rocky, scrub-lined trails as its big Goodyears dig into corners to maintain momentum. This massive pickup plays pretty hard when given to spurs. The combination of the upgraded dampers and the air springs good for 10.8 inches of ground clearance and the loftiest off-road 2 setting versus 9.8 inches with the standard coils earn high marks for comfort and control over rocks and at speeds that would be borderline abusive in the standard truck. Electrically assisted steering that can feel a touch light on the street allows for quicker corrections in the dirt and sand. The Hemi V8 produces a deep-throated growl from its dual exhaust outlets and ample chevron with the accelerator. We wish Ram had developed a dedicated performance-oriented setting that sharpened the transmission's attitude for off-road driving, but the 8-speed remains smartly programmed in its standard tune and downshifts fairly quickly in response to throttle inputs. The 3.92:1 axle ratios help drive the tires, with the transfer case's 2.64:1 low-range gearing further upping the Rebel's tank-like abilities to claw through loose ground and up steep slopes. Although the Rebel's maximum departure angle, 23.8 degrees, gives up a little to a comparable standard Ram 1500s because of its prominent tailpipes, its maximum angles of approach, 26.7 degrees, and breakover, 21.8, are notably greater. As you'd expect, the Rebel's gnarly off-road tires somewhat taint the 2019 Ram's excellent on-road refinement and ride quality with their greater noise levels and reduced grip. Steering actions are slightly dulled, and a stab of the nicely firm brake pedal easily elicits a howl from the Goodyears as they scrabble for purchase. Yet compared with the regular Ram 1500s we drove on the well-maintained roads outside of Phoenix, both with and without the off-road package, there's little compromise unless you plan to autocross your Rebel. Similarly, we expect that opting for the standard, non-adjustable coil spring setup, which doesn't filter out quite as many road irregularities as the air springs, would still return greater ride comfort than most full-size trucks. The 2019 Ram's weight savings regimen should shave about 200 pounds from the previous Rebel's curb weight. The last example we tested, a 2016 four-wheel drive crew cab V8 model, weighed a hefty 5,923 pounds and required 7.0 seconds to reach 60 miles per hour. The new 4x4 truck's EPA fuel economy with the non-hybrid V8, estimated at 15 miles per gallon city and 21 miles per gallon highway, is roughly the same as before. Seeing red. Along with the diminished street performance of the off-road rubber, the Rebel's other main trade-offs lie in its interior. While the new Ram's cabin is supremely refined and dotted with thoughtful storage solutions and high-tech gadgets, many of the Rebel's standard accents, including the door panels and the bright work on the dashboard and center console, are rendered in a bold scarlet hue. Likewise, the seats come only in a red and black cloth and vinyl two-tone scheme with the tread pattern of the Goodyear DuraTrac tires printed on the seat backs and bottoms. You either like it or you don't. Off-roaders in hot climates will wish for the ventilated front and outboard rear seats that are available in other Ram 1500 models, and tech-savvy consumers will be dismayed to learn that the new truck's headlining 12.0-inch Uconnect touchscreen infotainment system cannot be had in the Rebel. A still excellent 8.4-inch job is the largest available. Ram says it might offer certain luxury and equipment upgrades on the Rebel at a later date if demand warrants it. Much of that potential demand will center on how much buyers are willing to spend on top of the Rebel's starting prices, a not insignificant $45,640 for a rear-drive crew cab with the V6 and a 5'7" cargo box, $46,340 for a four-wheel drive quad cab with a 6'4" bed, and $49,140 for a crew cab 4x4 with the shorter box. The optional Hemi V8 costs $1,195, add $800 more for the hybrid, and the 4-corner air suspension is another $1,795, plus at least $2,000 for one of two major luxury groups that include the larger Uconnect display in place of the stock 5.0-inch unit. Go big and you can easily crack $60,000. Buyers who are still wondering if Ram will offer an even more expensive, dedicated off-road performance truck such as the 575-horsepower Rebel TRX concept from 2016 will have to keep waiting, as the company says it has yet to make that call but is seriously considering the idea. If and hopefully when it does, the latest Rebel will make for a fine starting point. Thank you for watching our video. Please give us a big like, subscribe to our channel for new videos every day with amazing cars. Leave us your opinion in the comment section on the video. Thank you.